Ted Cruz sat down for an interview with a right-wing outlet, and he came out against our system of checks and balances.
Ted, the 14th Amendment says that no state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Now, the amendment in its fifth section includes a provision that delegates to the Congress the power, and I quote, to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article.
Yep.
Now, do you believe that unborn babies are persons within the meaning of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? And if so, will you call on Congress to use its authority under the 14th Amendment, pursuant to Section 5, to protect the unborn? Or do you take the view, as some do, that we can't do that until Roe versus Wade is overturned either by the court itself or by constitutional amendment? Where do you stand on that?
Listen, absolutely yes. I think the first obligation of everyone in public office is to protect life. Life is foundational. And in fact, as you look at the Declaration, that ordering of unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I think is a very deliberate ordering. Without life, there is no liberty, and without liberty, there is no pursuit of happiness. That each builds upon the other. And I very much agree that with the Pope's long-standing and prior popes before him's long-standing call to protect every human life from the moment of conception to the moment of natural death.
And we can do that by congressional action?
Absolutely yes.
Without waiting for the Supreme Court to overturn Roe versus Wade?
Absolutely yes.
All right, you guys need to understand just how wrong that is and dangerous that is, because that is fundamentally un-American. What he's talking about is, if you dislike a decision of the Supreme Court, ignore it. Go through Congress to overturn a Supreme Court decision. Anybody who took, any kind of law class or government class, civics class, when you hear that, wait a second, Ted, that doesn't make any sense. A Supreme Court decision overrides a decision of Congress. I mean, that's essentially like saying, if you don't like something at the state level, well, just pass a law to ignore a federal law. But the Constitution doesn't work like that. There's the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution, which says that federal law overrides state law. So take, for example, marijuana laws. There are plenty of states that, hey, some legalize marijuana, and many allow for medicinal uses. Now, that's still illegal under federal law. So what do liberals do? Do we just throw up our hands and say, well, that's the end of the conversation, no reason to keep moving in any direction here? No. What we do is we try to fight within the system the way it's set up, where we are trying to lobby to get it legalized at a federal level so that we can actually win on this issue. Right now, we're in a state of limbo where if a president comes in and they don't like the marijuana laws in some states, they can just shut it down. Shut down all the legalized marijuana states and shut down the medicinal marijuana that's in many states. If they don't like it, they don't need to do anything legislatively, they just shut it down. They say, no, send in the guys with the guns, it's over. So we're fighting to try to get it done the right way. Look at the amendment to get money out of politics. What are we trying to do there? We're doing exactly that. We're trying to get a constitutional amendment to make clear that money does not equal speech and that private contributions should be banned from the political system so that the politicians will actually represent the people and not the corporate interests and the special interests. If we were doing the equivalent of what Ted Cruz is saying, we would argue, just pass a law that says that. Let Congress do it. Pass a law that says we can kick money out of politics. What's the problem with that? That's not the way the system works. Congress can pass any law they want. Congress can pass a law that says the exact text of the Wolfpack Amendment to get money out of politics. Guess what? It wouldn't mean dick. It's null and void even after you pass it because the Supreme Court overrides Congress on this issue. So either the Supreme Court needs to hear another case and change their mind and change the ruling, or you need to get a constitutional amendment. But Ted Cruz says, I don't care about the system. I don't care about checks and balances. I don't care about judicial review. I don't care about the way it works. I'm just going to say, change the system completely. Change it completely. And Congress or the president should be able to ignore any Supreme Court decision that they don't like. And if you're thinking right now, ooh, that's ugly because Republicans can ignore now the Supreme Court decision on gay marriage. Indeed. And he goes on to say that too. In the same interview, he goes on at one point to say, yeah, if I get into office, I would just ignore the Supreme Court and what they decided on gay marriage. That is a constitutional right, and the states cannot say, we're not going to allow it in this state. He goes, yeah, no, I would just ignore that. There's Ted Cruz for you. Guys, there's a name for what he's in favor of here. Fascism. It's a unitary executive that gets to make all the decisions. Fuck the process, fuck the legal structure, ignore all that. What I say goes. If I decide to override anybody, the Supreme Court, doesn't matter. Done. Over. I'm going to do what I want. Well, then you are running to be the dictator of the United States of America, and you don't believe in the system, which means you are fundamentally un-American.